As the world turns in Sixers basketball, welcome to the PHLY Sixers pregame show, live from the Xfinity studio. We are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Sixers basketball. Make sure you use code PHLY365 when you sign up. I'm Devon Givens hanging out with you solo today. Bree is here as well, so I'm never solo as long as Bree is here. All of you are here as well as we get ready for the Sixers and the Pelicans' final game of their long homestand before they hit the road for 5. One more at home before the All-Star break, but I'm running solo here for the pregame show. Derik will be back for the postgame as we break everything down from the big news with Paul George, obviously the game that still has to be played, and kind of screwed up the reunion game. Paul George, selfish for ruining everything, taking the story away from the reunion game tonight with the 2000-2001 team being honored and in the building on this Saturday night as the Sixers host the Pelicans. I'm kidding about the selfishness part, just pointing out that it's kind of on the back burner now because nobody's talking about it. But that said, we'll get to our pregame picks a little bit later. We will also discuss the reunion game a little flashback to that 2000-2001 run that have captured all of our hearts at that time. They will be wearing their black unis tonight, surprise, surprise. And we'll get into a little bit more of who's up next with the thing about Paul George that we have to start off with. For people who did not get a chance to see everything today, Paul George missed our emergency podcast today. Paul George suspended 25 games for violating the NBA drug policy that was dropped by Shams a little bit earlier this late morning, early afternoon, and we had our emergency pod about it. Big deal. Obviously, 25 games that leads up to, as we'll get into the schedule a little bit later after we hear from Kyle, but certainly a big deal because of, as we talked about earlier, Kyle looked at it as a massive deal. Huge, as Derik pointed out a little bit earlier, and just simply looking at how important this is with the 25 games that he is going to miss. The Sixers are currently in the thick of things, as we'll talk about it, with the 26-21 record. With the victory tonight, they go 6 games above 500, which they had not done all season long. So this will be a big, important win for the Sixers. But with the road trip upcoming and Paul George playing as well as he has and looking at what he has done so far this season, this is a big blow for this basketball team, not having their third best player. So as much as we elevate VJ Edgecombe for the stellar play that he has had through the games that he has played so far, 43 of the games that he has played for this basketball team, of the 47, VJ Edgecombe, he's been more than we could ask for, certainly all year long. But in the middle of all that, with the all-NBA season that Tyrese Maxey has had, the resurgence of Joel Embiid playing at the level that he is playing, and certainly seeing what VJ Edgecombe is doing, Paul George just kind of nestles right in and does his job the way that many have asked us to do as a two-way player, the best two-way player, the most consistent two-way player on this team. And you look at his numbers as Bree throws them up there. I remember with our predictions from the Sixers for the Sixers before the season started, and we got into individual things about this basketball team overall. And with it, for me, one of the questions I remember asking the guys about, Paul George comes back and he is Paul George again. What kind of numbers are you going to get? I said, hey, 19 points per game, 6 and 5 maybe on the season, much better three-point shooting percentage, somewhere between league average and 40%. And the guys went closer to 16. So they were right when it comes to the points per game. We were all right, though, that he was going to be much better a season ago than he was. 16 points, 5 boards, close to 4 assists, and the field goal percentage at 42%, shooting 38% at the clip from behind the three-point line. All of us, collectively, all of us, including all of you, Bree, everybody knew that he would shoot way better from behind the three-point line than he did a season ago. And that's exactly what you've been getting. So when we get to the next man up conversation that we're going to have here, no one else shoots it really consistently at that number with the volume of shots that they have to take from behind the three-point line, plus the shot creation. And while he is no longer an all-defensive type of player on what he could do on ball, point of attack, helping at the rim, back to the basket, defending, holding up as a 6'7" defender, while he is no longer that player, the IQ, the experience, still the smarts to know where to be a great help team defender, disrupting action from the other team, disrupting individual one-on-one things that he can still hold up because he can anticipate and move and beat the offensive player to the spot. All of those things now go away. So you're asking so much more of some of the other guys that have to now elevate their games and maybe try to duplicate what Paul George was able to do. I'm not putting him on the all-star team. I'm not saying he is third team. If there was a third team all-defensive squad or a fourth defensive team all-defensive, but for this basketball team, for this collection of players, the personnel that Nick Nurse has to throw out there, and for what they like to do with all the switching and not having to worry about that. All right, we've seen it where they gamble a lot. Paul George is a big part of that, of being able to read things and get back to the open man to help out when need be. And that's what they're now going to miss. So that's where it's a big problem with the two-way play, the secondary ball handler that he is, or third if you want to just talk about, or maybe even fourth because of what VJ Edgecombe is capable of doing. But as you'll hear from Kyle a little bit later, the second unit lineup that he and VJ Edgecombe run, that is going to be sorely missed of not having him out there on the floor, leaving a lot of that with VJ Edgecombe, having to stagger minutes now where it's probably going to be. You have to change it now, Nick Nurse. We talked about this on the emergency pod if you didn't catch it. Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, you're not going to see a lot of times out there now where neither one of them are on the floor. They both have to be on the floor at some point with the second unit to kind of balance things out, to see how it goes. And how does that now mess up what they do individually where they're not out there? Because VJ Edgecombe had that life raft, if you will, of what Paul George was able to do out there on the floor. He doesn't have that anymore in the form of George. Yes, he will get some good minutes with Kelly Oubre or Quentin Grimes or Trendon Watford or Jared McCain, but none of them are Paul George. We're still talking about a guy who makes the amount of money even at the age of 35 because of what his overall profile is. That player doesn't exist. So now you're asking collectively for all of these players to be able to do so. And when we get to them, we'll talk about who has to step up the most. We'll get your thoughts in the chat of who you expected to be the most for this team to maybe step in, and it may not be the entire 25 games, but it could be 5 games for Kelly Oubre. It could be 5 games for Quentin Grimes, et cetera, on down the line. But that's why this is so huge. And when this team is playing the way that they have been playing, yes, they are 5-5 in their last 10, but we've all seen it. Yes, this is who they are, close to a 5-game over 500 team, somewhere also in that 500 range where we still look at them and say, could they be maybe 42 and 40 at the end of the year? Could they be 43 and 39 at the end of the year? Or that kind of team? Could they be that type of team at the end of the year? A lot of that is dependent on him. So while he'll get a lot of rest, he'll be fresh by the time the playoff comes, and all of the things that we'll discuss later on with the trade deadline and the salary cap ramifications, certainly when Derik gets here for the postgame. This is a huge deal for right now, because of when the trip is, because of who they play on the trip, because of who they play at home, the Knicks, before they leave for the All-Star break and then come back and they're back on the trip. They are 16-11 with Paul George in the lineup, 10-10 without him in the lineup. So that's really what the Sixers are right now, a 500 team, also hovering 5 or 6 games over 500, still in the mix, but we all collectively know the importance of him. Playoff P, we make the jokes. Pina Colada P, when he was on vacation, we make the jokes. Pinky P, we make the jokes. And now we saw Prescription P, we make the jokes. It's all funny until he's not out there on the floor when you're in the midst of trying to solidify yourself in a jumbled up Eastern Conference where everybody's fighting for positioning, and you see teams in front of you going on 4, 5, 6 game winning streaks where you might now be on the opposite side of that, unfortunately, because of his absence and how important he is for this basketball team. So while he is not living up to the contract, it's not to the level of 12, but while he is not living up to the contract as we may want because of what he is making financially, he's still important for this team where he needs to be out on the floor, and that absence is going to be huge for the Sixers and the collective group overall for the 25 games that he is no longer in the mix. So we're going to take our break, and when we come back on the other side, we're going to hear from Kyle Neubeck from the arena along with Nick Nurse for what the head coach had to say pregame, certainly about missing Paul George, but also what are the rotations going to look like? Who's the next man up? Who can take on a lot of this responsibility with the 16 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and certainly the playmaking, the shooting, the secondary things that he does, all the small things that Paul George does for this team, who can fill in that role? It's going to be a collective group, I'd imagine, but it starts tonight against the Pelicans. Oh, yeah, there's a basketball game. Sixers-Pelicans tonight. They play a basketball game. The Pelicans stink. They are 13-27. They have some fun players individually to watch. We've talked about a few of them. Maybe the Sixers possibly get their hands on it at the trade deadline. But this is still a basketball team that you should defeat, and the Pelicans played last night and took an L. We'll get into all of that later on the other side. Nick Nurse and Kyle Neubeck right here as we hang out with you. It's the Sixers PHLY Sixers pregame show presented by Bet365.
Guys, we work a lot of late nights covering the Sixers. There are very few things that get me out of bed and out of the house in the morning, but the Wawa $5 big breakfast deal is one of them. It's a sizzly, whatever sizzle you want. I'm a bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant guy myself, but they have all kinds of options. Any size, hot or iced coffee. I need a big coffee in the morning, and a hash brown. That's the whole thing, all for just $5. It's a go-to for me when I need something to fill me up in the morning, get me going. Also, tastes delicious. And if you want to switch it up and make it sweet, you can use their new caramel chocolate craze flavors too. I'm a caramel guy myself. I don't know, maybe Bree, maybe Devon are more on the chocolate kick. There's something there for everybody. And most importantly, it's $5. You're in and out. The deal's only in the mornings, 5 to 11 a.m. It's a nice window. You're up early. You're heading to work. You guys know it. Gotta have a Wawa.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Xfinity and their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Back here on the PHLY Sixers pregame show presented by Bet365. Devon hanging out with you, Bree as well, and all of you. I see all of you in the chat just throwing, so much things. I see Bernard right away. Gut punch, this one is. Ends the big three, in my opinion. Need to make a move in the offseason. Wish all the best for PG in his personal life. No rest for Maxey at all. Well, Tyrese Maxey, as we know, leads the league in minutes played because of what he has to do for this basketball team, and a lot is being thrown on his shoulders, and that's why we were all frustrated with this news, is that the guy can't get a rest as it is, and he's not going to get a rest now because of what all this is. So just quickly, I do want to make sure that before we get to Nick Nurse and Kyle hanging out here with us with their cameo here on the show, I do want to say, if you missed Paul George's statement for what happened today with the 25-game suspension, here's what Paul George had to say. Over the past few years, I've discussed the importance of mental health, and in the course of recently seeking treatment for an issue of my own, I made the mistake of taking an improper medication. I take full responsibility for my actions and apologize to the Sixers organization, my teammates, and the Philly fans for my poor decision-making during this process. I am focused on using this time to make sure that my mind and body are in the best condition to help the team when I return. That is from Shams. The statement from Paul George. shared with Shams and ESPN, and that is what Paul George has to say. So with all of this that we are saying, I am not, I know none of you are, certainly Bree, none of us are making light of the personal issues that he is having with the making sure that his mental health is right. We know it's a serious issue. So we wish all the best to Paul George in that regard. It's unfortunate that someone who has been in the league as long as he has been and understands the ins and outs and what needs to be done, what cannot be done, that a mistake like this takes place with a longtime veteran. Now, everyone makes mistakes. And you think about him with his injury at Team USA in Las Vegas that summer, where he had that gruesome knee injury, having to fight back to get back to the player that he ultimately became, being an all-NBA player once again, checking in as an all-star a few more times after that, and then landing, this big contract with the Sixers last summer because of 2 summers ago, because of how important he could still be in that place that he is as a player in the league, still a very, very important player. So not making light of any of that, pointing out simply how disappointing this is that this happens for this basketball team. Whether it's game 1 or game 82 heading into the playoffs, it's never a good time. But it is certainly not a good time right now for this basketball team that they constantly preach needing to be out on the floor, specifically the big 4, including VJ Edgecombe and Kelly Oubre, because we talked about his importance to this basketball team of the cohesion that needed to be formed on the floor. That is now taking a big, big hit without Paul George. While you're here, hit the like button, like and subscribe to the show. Please do. Like and subscribe to the show and become a diehard member at allphly.com, because we have so much over the next week, starting today, certainly with the story written by Kyle Neubeck and this whole thing with Paul George, the ramifications, trade deadline, salary cap, roster construction, all of it right now at allphly.com. And with the trade deadline in less than a week, you want to make sure that you stay tuned to not only our shows, but also the written form at allphly.com. Hit the like button, like and subscribe, tell a friend and tell another friend and another friend that we are here for you at allphly.com. All right, everyone wants to hear from the teammates and certainly the head coach. Nick Nurse is first up because he is every game, media availability before the game, he has to speak. The very first question that he received today, I believe it was from Kai Carlin, and Kai asked him straight up, your thoughts. We'll let Kai set it up with Nick Nurse and Paul George.
It's just kind of initial reaction to Paul's suspension, and I guess how to kind of replace him now going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, disappointed for sure. But answer your second part of your question is those guys that have been playing this year. There's a bunch of them, and then we got to figure out who's going to replace some of the things he does and the positionally and defensively and shots and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's a number of guys there to do it, and that's where we are. And we've been in this kind of next man up mentality for quite a while, and we're going to have to dig in and do it again.
Head coach Nick Nurse speaking about what his star player, his star two-way wing, the best two-way wing he has on the roster after this news drops, and his importance to this basketball team, what now needs to happen. And certainly that is our thumbnail on this show today, next man up for the Philadelphia 76ers. Before we get to next man up, we go next man up with our teammate here on the show, Kyle Neubeck, in his normal pregame hit from the arena to let us know the sights and sounds from the arena, especially after a big, big news day for the Sixers. So here is Kyle Neubeck and Nick Nurse again, another cameo here with the big news in Sixers world.
Well, it was a normal Saturday in Sixers world until Paul George got suspended for 25 games for violating the league's anti-drug policy. I think the defining thing that we've heard all day, talking to people around the organization, talking to Nick Nurse pregame, these guys just don't know what the fallout from this is going to be quite yet. They can't say what their deadline plans are or how they're going to be altered because They weren't prepared for this. This was totally off the radar, especially when you consider this is your 35-year-old max veteran who should know better. Nick Nurse said the reinforcements are going to have to come by committee, whether that's McCain, Grimes, Oubre, whoever it might be.
And getting some other guys that we can find a groove with some certain lineups and sets and things to keep the scoreboard moving, right? You know, like we mentioned, what can Kelly do? What can Q do? What can Jared do? What can whoever, you know, Trendon Watford do? What can some of these guys do to kind of replace some of that? And it's going to take a little bit of, I think, just connectivity with the right rotations and lineups and to be honest, some play calls and finding the matchups on the night that can go get us a bucket.
As the Sixers deal with this fallout, some people are already looking ahead to what is going to be a very difficult West Coast road trip going into the deadline. They go to the CDLA teams, they play the Warriors, they're going to Portland. It is a tough one. People's minds are already on it. And Nick Nurse's big message coming into this Pelicans game, handle your business here first.
Like I've been telling everybody around the building, stop talking about the West Coast trip. We'll talk about it in a few hours, right? We can all get ready. We got plenty of time to pack in the morning and all this stuff. So we got to take care of this business first, and then we got to, get on that plane and again get ready to go. I understand those are some really good teams that are playing probably as good as they've played all year. Some of them on this trip, but we're not afraid of them.
One last thing, rookie big man Derik Queen for the Pelicans named Joel Embiid as one of the big time players he hadn't gotten a chance to play against yet. Maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago. I can almost guarantee you that clip made its way to Joel Embiid. We'll see if he's got a little bit of extra pep in his step tonight.
Take the over for Joel Embiid tonight, as Kyle just pointed out, from Derik Queen making that statement a few weeks ago. All right, a lot there from Kyle. We appreciate it from the arena. We'll hopefully check back with him post-game and certainly Nick Nurse. But let's get to the next men up here because there are a lot of candidates for this next man up role for the Sixers. You start with the obvious two in VJ Edgecombe and Kelly Oubre. Can they elevate their game and their scoring a little bit here because of what we know that they are capable of? Both players on the season, VJ Edgecombe having really good scoring years. In his rookie year, 15.1 for VJ Edgecombe, 14 for Kelly Oubre. Rebounding, Edgecombe, 5.4. Kelly Oubre, 4.4. And the assist, the edge goes to VJ Edgecombe, certainly with the 4.1 assists per game. Shooting, though, from three-point range for the rookie, pretty good. 37% for a rookie on where he takes close to 6 a game. That's not bad at all. And Kelly Oubre, since he's come back, we know how he's played, got off to a hot start from behind the three-point line, 36.5% from the clip. So from behind the three-point line. So those are good numbers for those guys. Those two stand out immediately as in the starting lineup. They're going to get some things run for them from time to time, some second side action for them. Because of the absence of Paul George, they're going to pick up some of those plays will be run for those two. And I'm curious to see who is more aggressive. Well, Kelly Oubre is the more aggressive one of mostly anybody on this roster. So we'll see what it looks like for him in that third and fourth role as an offensive player for this team. Next up would be Quentin Grimes. He has not played well, as we have talked about over the last month, really, for Quentin Grimes for what he has done. But that said, he's still averaging 13 points on the season in 43 games with 7 starts. Quentin Grimes, along with the 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and from behind the three-point line, he is shooting way low, 34.4%. And in his minutes of the time that he's out there on the floor, he gets up about 6 a game. So he still gets off a good volume in the 30 minutes of run that he has out there. So you would like to see him get back into a more comfortable role, more like really what we saw at the beginning of the year where he was playing pretty well, helping them win games in the closing lineup, averaging about 15 to 17 points a game for this basketball team. Maybe even going back and flashing back to what he did in the time that it was tank season. And they were giving the ball to him and he had the ball in his hands and he was making everything work. So if he can get back to that, maybe knowing that he doesn't actually have to look over his shoulder and worry about the time that he's out there. Is he going to get snatched off the floor? I doubt it. he's going to get a lot of runway with this basketball team. The next three that we look at here, more of a lower role, but the opportunity is now going to be there for McCain, Watford, and Edwards, where after the blowout against Charlotte, he and McCain, because of the way that they played, Grimes out the very next one, they were called on early and they played pretty well. And you saw that they both got some more time over these last three games overall. There are going to be some minutes there for all of them, including Watford, since coming back from the injury with Oubre. He hasn't played all that well. They're going to need his ball handling. They're going to need his size out there to defend, and they're going to need him in general to be a connector for some of the others that are scoring, where maybe he has to just be more of a facilitator out there on the floor. So among those six, they're going to be really key. And as Nick Nurse said, next man up, who's going to grab hold of the reins and take on the responsibility within the structure of what they need to do to help them win some basketball games. Finally, one more, a wild card, a dark horse. The two-man guy who took over for Hunter Salas' two-way spot, and that is Marshawn Beauchamp, the 3-4 year veteran, signed as a two-way player once they let Hunter Salas go. Who knew that they may have to lean on him, maybe even on the road trip, just to get in, steal a few minutes with the length, the athleticism, and just a guy to bring in a lot of energy. Somebody in the show that we had for the emergency pod earlier mentioned Ricky Council, go get him Rick. Maybe he's in that role of, we just need energy from you. We need you to go out there, provide some energy for a 5-minute stint where you are positive out there on the floor, using all of that stuff that you possess as a basketball player to help us steal a few minutes while Oubre, Edgecombe, Maxey, or Embiid just simply need a rest. And that's where things are for those 7 players, including Marshawn Beauchamp, for this 76ers team now without Paul George. So the importance, too, is the stretch of games that they have and where they are in the standings. So let's just look at the stretch of games that they have here. They have a lot over this time. And as Kyle alluded to earlier on our emergency pod, the games that they have, he is eligible to be back against the Chicago Bulls on the 25th against the Bulls in March. Man, that's a long time away, right? That's like 2 months. It's the January 31st. That's 2 months for this basketball team. As you see, the Chicago Bulls, that's a long ways away, everybody. Look at all those games in there. And the red indicates away. Blue is home. There are not a lot of home games. They have 10 home games, excluding tonight, in that stretch where they have to be really good on the road to win some basketball games. So that's where the importance comes in with those 7 players that we showed up there on the screen in this time, February and March, starting with this 5-game trip that they have beginning on Monday in Los Angeles. That's the front end of a back-to-back, where normally it's one guy in, one guy out, Embiid, George, in and out. The other one plays, the other one sits. They're ready for game 2. Not the case, because Paul George is now going to be suspended starting tonight. So big blow, big stretch of games here in February and certainly in March, where it gets heavy. And they only have, as you see there, 7 games in the month of March at home? That's huge for this 76ers team. And as far as the standings go for this basketball team, they are sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference right now at 26-21. They better win tonight to improve to 27-21. But they are now looking at trying to hold off Orlando and Miami, who are immediately behind them just by 1 game in the standings. After the trade that Atlanta made, they're not too far back once they really get settled in with the team that they have led by Jalen Johnson, 3.5 games behind the Sixers. And the Bulls, despite their terrible stretch that they had, they're still within distance of the Sixers for that back end. And you're trying to catch up with Toronto and Cleveland, who will hold a 1.5 up on you. And they can't lose because Toronto has won. Well, actually, they just lost 2 in a row. Cleveland just lost 1. The Sixers have won 2 in a row. This would be 3 for them. But they just went on the winning streak to kind of separate themselves from the Sixers a bit. And that's where this is where, again, it's huge to miss Paul George with so much happening right now in the Eastern Conference. So that's where things are right now. Let's get to our pregame picks presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Sign up using code PHLY365. No Paul George. Breaking news in the picks because he's not eligible in the picks to place a wager on. Disappointing. All right, let's get to the picks. As we have Bree with the plus 230, Sixers win. Joel 25 plus, and Kelly Oubre in this new role, 2 plus 3s made. That's a plus 230. That looks pretty good to me against a team that played in the second night, playing in the second night of a back-to-back. By the way, I said the Pelicans lost last night. They beat the Memphis Grizzlies last night at home before they took the road to come to Philadelphia. Also, mine plus 135. Oubre over 13.5. That was a piece of cake. And Joel Embiid 23.5 as an over because you have the option of the regular number of the over-under, or they give you an option of a low, points low, and you can go with the over-under there. I just simply went with 23.5 because it's very possible that they blow this basketball team out and he doesn't have to play a lot. So that's where we went. If you want to combine those together, everybody, make sure you do so at Bet365, and you get I think it's a 50% super profit boost tonight as I check the app quickly. It is let me check. This is live, so you're all here. 30%, I'm sorry, 30+% profit boost at Bet365 tonight. Make sure you use the code PHLY365 when you sign up. Combine those, and you get a pretty good number there, and the profit boost right there at Bet365. Must be 21 plus, physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, that'll do it for us here on the pregame show. Derik will be with us for the postgame. We thank all of you for hanging out with us here today. Do we have any super chats, Bree, at all? Nope, super chats. All right, no super chats. We thank all of you for hanging out on the pregame show. Devastating news, of course, massive news. Really important. Paul George suspended for 25 games begins tonight because of the drug policy, failing the drug policy for the NBA. It's very disappointing, but the games go on. And it starts with the Pelicans tonight, who are certainly on this schedule right now, sitting at 13-37, winning last night's game. They are 5-18 on the road. The Sixers should take care of business tonight. The starting lineup for the Sixers, not much of a surprise. You get tonight Kelly Oubre, Dominic Barlow, and Joel Embiid in the front court for the Philadelphia 76ers. For the New Orleans Pelicans, you do, in fact, get a local guy in Sadiq, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, and Derik Queen is going to get scored on a lot, but he's fun to watch. And our guy Jeremiah Fears is also in the lineup. So everybody enjoy the game. We'll see you 10 minutes after the game tonight as we hang out with you on post game. After the game goes final, will it be a 3-game winning streak for the Sixers? And are they now going to be 6 games over 500 before they hit the trip? Well, they better be. Whatever it is, we'll be here with you after the game to hang out with you, to break it all down. For Bree and Kyle and Derik and Nick Nurse, since he made a couple of cameos on the show, hit the like button, like and subscribe. Hang out with this post game right here after Sixers-Pelicans. Enjoy the game.